Welcome to the 30-minute hour. It's the personal development podcast for the seven-figure entrepreneur who's looking to level up and become unstoppable. I'm your host, Eric Twiggs, your procrastination prevention partner, and I've conducted over 28,000 coaching sessions with seven-figure entrepreneurs. Now, my co-host, you know him as the super CEO, the business strategist extraordinaire, and all-around good guy, Ted Fells, is not going to be joining us today. He is out attending a conference, and we certainly wish him well with his efforts there. But today we're going to talk about how to get paid to quit your day job. We've never talked about this topic before. If you're looking to turn your side hustle into a seven-figure enterprise, you want to listen in to this episode. Again, this is groundbreaking. And I was talking to our guest backstage, and I said, I'm really not familiar with this day hustle thing. I've never heard of it before. And she said, yeah, that's because I invented it. So again, you're in store for a treat. Again, this is something you really want to listen in on. I'm going to go ahead and introduce her right now. She has the way for you to get paid to quit your day job. She's the founder of Day Hustle, which is an angel employment company that's willing and able to match the right side hustler's salary for his or her current day job, offer health insurance and access to other group coverage, and a 401k retirement plan. All this for the sole purpose of growing his or her own business. So please join me in welcoming to the 30-minute hour podcast, Gianna Rahmani.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Eric, for the lovely introduction.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Welcome to the show. This is just a fascinating concept, and I was really intrigued from the moment you and we talked a few weeks back about you coming on the show. But I do want to give everybody the backdrop and the perspective how you got to this point. So you at one point were at the University of California, Berkeley, as an undergraduate. Like what was your vision for your career back in those days?
Wow. Back in those days, I actually was thinking of majoring in mass communications. Throughout middle school and high school, I was in our team's broadcasting club, or our school's broadcasting club, where we would be on TV and do the current events for the school. Every Friday they would put us on the TV monitors and tell everybody what was going on. So I liked it. I liked talking, and I liked, giving people news and sharing news, and that's what I had in mind. I liked writing at that point. But it didn't happen the way I envisioned it, back then, at least.
Hmm. Interesting. So, like, if you could go back and talk to that younger version of yourself, what advice would you give?
I'm a big believer that things happen in its own time.
Hmm.
So I don't think I would tell myself to do anything differently, but just to keep going. And, I think the decisions that I made, right or wrong, led me to where I am now. So it's just, trust your gut, trust God, and keep going. Do what you think is right at the time, and I think it'll get me here, the same place.
No, that's great. 'Cause I think a lot of times you can think, "Oh man, I'm so off course," but a lot of times you're really where you need to be, and some of
Hmm.
the lessons and missteps are really putting you on the right. It's almost like your GPS, right? Where maybe you feel like you're off course, but you're really being rerouted to where you're supposed to be anyway.
Absolutely. I think, if there's anything that I tell myself that changes the course of my life, even if I think it's going to make it better now, I think I needed to experience everything that I did, right or wrong,
Hmm.
to get me here. And, there was
Absolutely.
definitely a lot of wrong to get me here. But I think it was important to go through it. So.
Okay. So you're the founder of Day Hustle, which is this angel employment company. So what? First off, before we really get into what that is, I mean, what were some of the steps that you took to get to this point where you decided to be the founder of this groundbreaking company?
Yeah, well, all right. So let me give you a little bit of background. I was in a very secure 9 to 5 job for over 20 years. I was doing great at it. I was all committed to it. I was making a lucrative salary. I thought that I had all the benefits that I needed to be happy, both in my job and in my life as a mom and a wife. Um, we moved to Florida, where I am now, 5 years ago. And at that time, my husband and I decided that he would retire. He would focus on our businesses, our investments, and no longer work for somebody else. And the plan for me was to to just find a replacement for the 9 to 5 that I had back in Baltimore, where we came from, because I was good at it. Again, it made us good money. We had the benefits that we needed, and it could fund the investments that he could take care of. And okay, so 5 years ago we moved. We said, okay, he would retire. In my head, I had this great idea that when I turn 40, I will retire too. And honestly, it was just an idea. I didn't put anything down. I didn't have a plan to actually make that happen. I got this brand new job that, again, the industry was the same. I knew how to do it. I was good at it. I kept doing it. So I was all in on that day job. But I had this idea, like I said, which is more like a wish, of retiring when I turned 40. And when I turned 39, I said, wow, I have 1 year left to make this so-called goal, to reach this so-called goal. And I'm nowhere closer to reaching it. So I turned 39. I had just gotten promoted in my current job, which meant a new responsibility. That day, I traveled 2.5 hours for work. I was going to one place for an event and then more hours for another event. And I said, man, I really, if this wish really was a goal, I need to get moving. I only have a year left to make such a drastic move happen. And what am I going to do? And so I was asking myself questions like, I'm a mom. How is it responsible for me to quit my day job, to retire and not have a steady income, to not have health insurance, or at least affordable health insurance? And I just wish that somebody would pay me what I wanted to do. And I guess it stemmed all the way back to when I was at Berkeley, and I really had this dream of being a published author, Eric.
Hmm.
But I didn't know how that aligned with having a steady income to provide for my family. And as entrepreneurs, as investors, the one thing you don't have is a steady income. Eventually, you'll have more income than you do at your day job, but it's not steady, at least at the beginning.
Right.
And that was a huge fear for me. They called it the golden handcuffs. This fear of losing your job security and having that steady income come in for me every other week. And so in the spirit of giving away first what you want, that's what they say. If you want something, give it away first. And I never really understood that concept.
Hmm.
To what it really means until that point. I said, okay, well, if I want to get paid what I want to do, how can I pay other people to do what they want to do? Not
Hmm.
to how do I pay people not to do what I need them to do, but to do what they want to do?
Hmm.
And is that even possible? So an idea just kept forming in my mind about, all right, if I hire somebody and give them a salary, give them the health benefits, can they grow their own business? Can I leave the job responsibilities blank and not tell them what to do, but and let them have it? So we talked to an attorney, and we spoke to our legal team, and they said they came up with, well, number one main important question answer was yes, you can do that. And we started putting the policies and the concept together that ended up being the angel employment concept. Whereas as an entrepreneur, you might have heard of angel investors.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't, think Shark Tank. Okay, these investors help companies grow, and they invest large sums of money to help you with business expenses. Angel employers help you with your personal expenses so that you can focus your time and energy onto your business without worrying about a steady income to put food on the table, a roof over your head, and to be able to take your kids to the doctor if you have to. That's what angel employment is.
Hmm. So what's in it for you? Like, so what's in it for you? So you take someone who they've got a side hustle and they want to make it the main thing, and you're going to basically replace their job. So how do you get paid out of the deal?
That's a fantastic question because our goal is to be mutually beneficial. As angel employers, we're investors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're just changing the way we invest, and just like any investor, an investor looks for a return on investment. Fair enough. Our goal is to invest in the person to be able to pursue their passion, pursue their purpose, fulfill their dreams. They're to be able to give them the time to grow their business profits, where that those profits grow big enough to replace their ordinary earned income, their W-2 paycheck, and then when they have these business profits, they're paying themselves first before, like a W-2, they pay their taxes first, all this, yada yada yada, right, before they even get their paycheck. But these business profits repay us back for our investment. It pays us for the return on investment that we're trying to make as an investor, and they get to own their business 100%, which is our goal.
Hmm.
Angel employers or other investors that invest in companies, they want to have a piece of the pie for the long haul.
Right.
Our goal is for you to own your company outright without putting money out of your pocket. So again, the business profit is going to grow large enough to be able to do that.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, really interesting concept. I did want to go back to something you said when you
Sure.
were initially you thought you wanted to retire, but it was a wish, but it really wasn't a goal.
Yeah.
What do you see as the difference for somebody else that might be thinking about retirement? In your definition, between the wish and the goal?
It's a huge difference because it sounded great,
Hmm.
Eric. It sounded great. Hey, let me retire at 40. Nice round number, young number. That would sound really cool. That would be really cool. But was I actively taking the steps to make it happen? No. I was doing great at my job. I was actively focused and committed at doing the best job that I could do for the company I was working for. That had nothing to do with me retiring, because when you're working for someone else, your income is capped. You might think that, hey, you can keep getting raise after raise after raise, but that raise is attached to more responsibility. And trust me, there's always a limitation, and you're always working under the limitation of the business owner's dream until you
Hmm.
become that business owner.
Yep. Okay. No, that's good. I think anything you're doing, you need to really have a concrete plan spelled out
Yeah,
in writing, timelines, even if it requires getting help from somebody outside of yourself, like a coach or a mentor.
absolutely.
So, as we look at day hustle, if you had to describe your ideal client, who is that? What do they look like?
So the avatar that we built is a person that was going through what I went through. So I work with a group now called Brand Builders Group, and one of the owners is Rory Vaden. He wrote the
Hmm.
book Take the Stairs. You've probably heard of him because he's in your same line. It's about overcoming procrastination,
Mm-hmm.
and Take the Stairs is about that. And he also talks about um, basically how you can create time or maximize time,
Multiply
and
it.
that's what
Yeah.
angel multiply time. Actually, that's
Mm-hmm.
the term that he uses, multiply time. And with angel employment, we're able to give you back the 8 hours a day that you're putting into your day job. But one of his famous lines actually doesn't have anything to do with procrastination, but in terms of how you can help others. He says that we are most powerfully positioned to help the people we once were.
Mm.
And who was I back then? I was, and still am, a mom and a wife, but I was in the golden handcuffs. I wanted to do something on my own. I wanted to do, I enjoyed my job. I was good at my job. I was making good money at my job, but it wasn't giving me the sense of fulfillment. I wasn't, I was telling myself that I was helping people, but I kind of, it kind I'm not going to say that I was lying to myself, but it wasn't really hitting home like, yes, I am helping people fulfill their dreams. I am making their lives better. Okay. I was in the property management industry, and for 20 years I had to tell myself, yeah, you're helping people because you're helping them have a better company to be able to deal with petty complaints about your neighbor's dog pooping in the yard or whatever. All virtual, right? Or virtuous. But for me it didn't feel real. And it just I needed something to, I really wanted to have, I have messages that I want to tell people about building a better life, creating a life that you don't need a vacation from, having long lasting relationships, and really uh, having your commitments met, instead of saying that you commit to something and then having it end. That's not what a commitment is. So, these are the kind of things that I wanted to do, and I couldn't do it in my 9 to 5. And,
Mm.
and I needed to figure out a way to really be true to myself, um, despite the fear of losing that income. And I realized that there are people that won't be able to get over that fear, or if they do get over that fear, you'll talk to entrepreneurs that report mental breakdowns because of burnout,
Mm.
or because of the stress of worrying about the steady income. So that's why we're here.
Okay. And so, is there a cutoff? Let's say, I mean, if someone, they work a job where they're making, I don't know, 200,000, $300,000 a year. Is that somebody you would still work with? Is there a cutoff limit? How does that work?
No, no, because I think the higher your pay is, the tighter your handcuffs are.
Yeah.
Right? The more golden your handcuffs are. It's
Right.
heartbreaking to think that some people's handcuffs aren't even golden.
Mm.
They hate their job, they're not making enough money, they're undervalued.
Hmm.
But I was in the golden handcuffs, and as far as my avatar goes, it's the people that at a point don't even realize they're in handcuffs because they're golden. You don't even realize you're in handcuffs, you're imprisoned, you're limited in how much you can make or what you can do. And so, when you think of the avatar, it's these people that are thinking that they've got, you know, their life together. I thought my life was together. We live in the state that we love, palm trees, warm weather, what have you. I had steady income coming in. My husband was taking care of our investments. Our boys are fantastic boys that are growing and excelling. But my handcuffs were golden. I enjoyed my job. I just didn't have that fulfillment. Like I said, like I felt like I was not being true to myself. I felt like I was saying, yeah, you know, what you do is affecting other people. It's changing people's lives. But to me, when I really got down to it, I wasn't.
Mhm.
And if somebody has that feeling and it's really an honest feeling, then the more power to you. But I was in those golden handcuffs and I was making lucrative money and lucrative income. And that just made my handcuffs tighter. It made it even scarier to leave it. And that concept of actually pursuing my dreams uh, seemed further. Because again, how can you give that up? It's so much easier to just keep going. But that's what they call it, the rat race, right? You're trading time for money.
Yep.
The more promotions that I got, Eric, the more responsibilities that I had to make, or the more responsibilities I had, and the more hours I had to work. And so, you know, the only way to get out of that is to be a business owner or an investor. You need, instead of working for money, you need to get your money working for you. You can't do that as an employee. And I had to learn this by reading Robert Kiyosaki's books. Now we've all heard about Rich Dad Poor Dad. That wasn't enough for me. Not until my husband sent me the audiobooks for Cash Flow Quadrant and Rich Dad's Guide to Investing, where it really started to click. Like, okay, I really do need to get out of this day job, this W-2 ordinary earned income. And there's also some people that say, well, keep your day job and save the money and invest it. Or, you know, keep your day job and let that fund your investments. Okay. But for me, I didn't want to hustle all the time. They talk about the 7 to 2 a.m. strategy. You work your 9 to 5, then you work 7 p.m. to 2 a.m. And God, man, everybody knows that I need my beauty sleep. But I also understood from a long time that I needed to take the time to exercise. I needed to take the time to listen to those audiobooks that my husband would tell me about, listen to podcasts like yours, Eric. Um, and I also didn't want to sacrifice the time being with my boys. So there's two scenarios. If you want to grow a business, you either, if you're a side hustler, you either do your 9 to 5, then all the other time is focused on your business. Or like me, you have your 9 to 5, and then the other time you still do the things that are important to you and your business just goes on the wayside and it doesn't grow. And I started writing a book and then I never finished it because, I wanted to be with my boys. I wanted to do a good job at my day job. So that's where angel employment came in. I was able to give up my day job, pursue being a published author, and not have to worry about a steady income and not give up the time to hang out with my boys. And Kevin Harrington, the original shark from Shark Tank, I got to talk to him on Fox Business because
Mm.
this is such a revolutionary concept. We're literally giving people back 8 hours a day of their life, 40 hours a week at the minimum. We all know that at your day job, you're working more than 8 hours, you're working more than 40 hours. And that's what we're doing right now, is getting the word out on this new resource that people have if they want to leave their day job and really grow their and pursue whatever plan they've created to reach financial freedom. So
Yeah,
here we
no,
are.
that's awesome. So, can you share a couple of just memorable success stories of people who have joined your program and they were doing the side hustle thing and now they're doing great as an entrepreneur?
Um, I was the first proof of concept, Eric. Um, my husband and I were thinking of what was the next thing that we were going to invest in. And at that before we had the angel employment concept, we were just real estate investors. So we're like, okay, what's the next property we're going to invest in? Or we were even thinking, okay, you know what, investing in businesses um, is the next thing for us. What business are we going to invest in? So we created the company Day Hustle, and to keep the story clear, let's just say that my husband owns Day Hustle, an angel employment company. And Day Hustle invested in the person, Gianna Rahmani, not
Hmm.
the business, invested in me. It gave me the income that I was, afraid to lose by leaving my 9 to 5. And Gianna has this idea called angel employment, and she wants to be a published author. And it is something where she spoke to publishers and publishing consultants in different avenues, and they told her that it would take months and months to be a published author. The process of writing your book and then designing your book and all these different steps to publish your book and talk about your book and market your book and go on a million podcasts, these will take months. But because Gianna didn't have a day job now to worry about, it's weird that I talk about myself in the third person, but because I didn't have this day job to worry about, I had 8 hours a day to just do everything that they told me to. And I published a book which launched at #1 on Amazon in 6 categories,
Oh, wow.
including internationally, because I had the time to just devote to doing that. And that's my greatest success story. But what's amazing is that in this book, I start off from the beginning, because what I realized was people had very different understanding of even what retirement means. There's some people, Eric, that think retirement is working until you're 67 and then banking on the government giving you Social Security benefits. We all know that that's depleting. Probably when I'm at that point, it's going to be gone. It's going to be gone probably in the next few years, right? So I started the book at the very beginning, and my greatest success stories is talking to people and having their mind shift. Now, people that have just had, let me do great and be a great employee, be a great worker, um, let me do that. And then they've shifted their focus of realizing what Robert Kiyosaki is trying to teach people, that you need to get that W-2. You need to think about investing. You need to think about passive income. You need to think about owning businesses. And I've, I've, my greatest success stories are these people that have really now started to understand. Now, with their current day job might be something, again, that they enjoy and that they're good at. So they tie it in, you know, they tie it into what they're going to invest in, or what their goal is as far as what kind of business they're starting. But now they're building a business on their own for however many years. For me, over 20 years, I was already building a business. It was just not my own.
Yeah.
But now these people are making the plans and uh, making the moves to build their own business.
And
That's
the other thing is
I
that
can't.
traditional retirement model, just working for somebody, retiring at 65 and getting the gold watch. The challenge is with technology, you could live to 90, 95. There's always inflation. There's always, you could run out of money,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Unfortunately.
all the stats say that, most people, a large percent of people over the age of 65 are depending on the assistance of relatives, right?
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, as far as running out of money goes, there's first of all, the retirement plans that are out there, whether it's government based or private, it was always only meant to be supplemental.
Hmm.
to the nest egg that you should have been creating until that point that you retire, right? So there's a lot of people that think, okay, you know what, let me retire and this nest egg and this amount will be enough. If you talk to the people that have retired, they are just they're covering their living if hopefully they're covering their living expenses. But by definition, living expenses is, your housing and your utilities and your food. That's not living. Not to my definition, and it shouldn't be to your definition. That's surviving, but that's not living. That's not a life that I want, and it shouldn't be a life that you want. You don't want that's the whole what they say, living from paycheck to paycheck mentality. All right. But when you're truly living, you are getting to enjoy what this earth, what God has created to offer you. And if you're living on Social Security benefits, you're just surviving. I've talked to people that have worked more than a quarter century for great companies that offer great benefits. But when they hit retirement age, when we talk about Social Security's retirement age, they're staying and continuing to work for that company for minimum hours, not as much, not the full time, but they still have to work in order to keep getting benefits, because without those benefits, they wouldn't even be surviving, Eric. And it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And so if these people have heard about or learned about and understood about Social Security and retirement not really being enough, forget about supplementing anything. It's just not enough. Then they would have thought about different avenues. And so when I talk to people that are stuck in that and they haven't been exposed to the people or the books or the podcasts that get them out of that mindset, or make them realize that that's not the way to go, that's really where these conversations are important.
Sure. Absolutely. So you mentioned your book. You're the author of the book Day Hustle. So I think I know the answer, but I'll ask anyway. What will people gain by reading Day Hustle?
Yeah. Uh, Day Hustle ended up becoming like a manual
Hmm,
for the angel employment concept. It's a brand new concept, obviously. So I didn't just want to tell people about the concept, but I wanted to explain to them the mindset that I went through from being that dedicated 9 to 5 employee to to going to a successful business owner, and what you need to become a successful business owner. And when you talk to entrepreneurs, all right, right now, side hustlers average about 13 hours a week on their business. How is it going to grow? They need time.
great point.
So they need time, and and understandably, how are they going to get 8 hours a day of their time back if they need that salary? And this book shows you how you can. I mean, it's as simple as the subtitle: receive the benefits of a day job while you grow your side hustle. Make it your day hustle, make it your primary source of income. And only as a business owner, only as your own boss, will you be able to live the life where you have control of, where you set the limit. And there's no limits when it comes to being a business owner.
Very true. So what you mentioned mindset. What do you see as the primary mindset difference between someone who's a seven-figure entrepreneur and someone who's got a side hustle and they've got their full-time job? What do you see as the difference in mindset?
Um, is somebody that's in a 9 to 5 job, one, they're accountable to somebody else. So somebody like me, I mean, that was important for me because I always wanted to please that person. I obviously wanted to not just achieve, but I was an overachiever. And that gave me fulfillment, right? Like I wanted the accolades of, winning an award or beating a quota. That was important for me. But I think the big difference from where I was before and now is really how I was helping other people achieve their dream or pursue their passion. Like, pursue their passion, even that like seemed a little cliche to me. Um, but when I changed to pursue the purpose, that really changed. And I feel like every business, you're in the service of others. And when it becomes less about you and more about other people, you have more control about helping other people when you call the shots. I
Mm-hmm.
think when people are dreaming, they're not dreaming about working for someone else, right? When they wake up to their dreams, they're behind the steering wheel, and they get to really determine what step to take and what kind of impact they're able to make. So, and then the difference at that point, and it's important, right? Because it is, whenever I worked for somebody else, I treated the business as if it was my own. And that did make me a successful employee, because you do have to have that pride in what you do. When you leave your 9 to 5, um, that accountability falls on your shoulders. And so, people ask all the time, like, how do you make sure that, okay, you don't have this 9 to 5, you're your own boss. How are you going to make sure that you're not slacking? Right? How do you make sure that you choose getting the work done over watching TV or whatever? I think that's inherent to somebody that wants to be successful. But you can't disregard that people don't have that mindset, right? If they need the accountability. Well, that's what one of the things that I'm excited about with Angel Employment is we're creating a community
Mm.
of people that can help each other out. One of the biggest fears of leaving your 9 to 5, on top of losing your steady income, is this fear of being alone. And one of the things that I realized when I did that was you're not alone. There's so many people that want to help you succeed, that have resources to help you succeed. And there's groups, life coaches, there's business coaches that have uh, mastermind groups and all these things that help you get in the mindset to be a successful business owner. And I think that's important, is that you aren't alone.
Yeah, you don't want to be out there on an island. It's good to have a community that you can bounce things off, bounce things off of, and there's that accountability piece as well. Because the challenge is you don't have a boss, right?
Yeah.
Once you get on the other side, you don't have a boss. You're the boss. So
Yeah.
it helps to kind of have that accountability and people that are going to check in on you. So you're on podcast all the time, right? You're a frequent guest on
All the
podcasts. Your concept is so
time.
unique. You get asked a lot of questions. What's one question that you never get asked that you wish people would ask you?
Yeah, this was difficult, Eric, because when I think about all the podcasts that I've been on so many, and what I've enjoyed about it is that they're all different, right? Like, the concept is the same. We're talking about angel employment. We're talking about day hustle. We're talking about being successful business owners or just creating better lives. But they're all different. And so this was a difficult question, but I don't think I've ever been asked the secret to my success.
Hmm. Wow.
What is the secret to your success? Now, I've been asked this before, but not on a podcast.
Hmm.
And my answer is my relationship with my husband.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I talk about the honeymoon life in terms of it not having to be a life where a married person or a person in a relationship has to strive for. I've characterized the honeymoon life as a life even a single person can um, appreciate, and it's a life where You're doing the things that you love, you're in the places that you love, you're in a position where you're happy, you're forgiving. And you talk about the honeymoon phase at a new job, even, right? Not just in marriage. And I talk about the honeymoon life because the honeymoon phase shouldn't have to end after a week or two or 1 month. And for me, the secret was my husband, as far as my life partner. Okay. Um, Now, some people might look at themselves in terms of what they need from themselves to attain their goals. So, again, I always try to push that the honeymoon life isn't just for a married couple or
Mm.
people in relationships. But I think the secret is one, really being true to yourself as to what you want out of this life.
Mm-hmm.
And what you want out of this life, again, always has to do with what you want to give and how you want to affect other people's lives.
Mm. Wow.
Because when you talk about being your own boss, it almost sounds selfish. You're being your own boss, you call the shots and all this stuff. And, building your own wealth or building your own business, not someone else's. And so when you talk about those things, it almost sounds selfish. But when you realize that they go hand in hand as far as what you want to do and how you help other people, but being true to what really makes you happy, I think is important. And so when I talk to my husband, like, we're not the same person, we have very different thoughts, we approach things differently, but we're aligned. So whether you're aligned with your significant other or aligned with the person that's talking to you in your head, that's important. And that's the secret. And to make sure that you know what that is, you've identified it. If you have to write it down, write it down. But then you take the steps to pursue that.
Mm.
And because when you talk about the rat race or you talk about the hamster wheel, these are people that's doing things without intention. One, they might not have the clarity of what they want. And two, they're not doing anything intentionally to make that happen.
Mm.
And I think that's all. It's a big secret, but that's all part of it. It's that alignment and that clarity that's so important. And also a maturity, Eric. Like, my husband and I, we've been married for 21 years. I got married really young. Um, and people have said that, back then I was like the oldest young person that they've ever met. And my boys are now at the age that I was at that time. My boys are 17 and 18, and I look at them and I'm like, they're so young, but at the same time, I have to expect them to think differently and act differently. They are, they have their own lives, and I can't tell them everything that they need to do or should do. So you have to take responsibility, and that goes to doing things that in your heart is the right thing to do.
Sure.
And I think that when you have that mature approach to it, you're not thinking about what everyone else thinks. Again, balancing that selfishness to how it affects people, right? Like, I don't think you can disregard other people's feelings. I've always been a people pleaser, but to the extent where it's the right thing to do. And if it hurts somebody's feelings, is it going to teach them in a way where they might not have seen in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
So, to be honest, I think, I don't know if I answered your question. I hope I did. I'm organizing my thoughts in what's going to become my second book, Eric. I'm happy to announce that is in the works now.
Oh, wow.
Because I feel like, if I organize my thoughts on this and really help create the clarity that people might gain from reading the second book, then they're going to realize, obviously, a happy and fulfilling life isn't just about the finances, which is what my first book is really focused on, but it's based on the relationships that you have and how you affect the world, and that's what the second book is about,
See, this
or
is a
will be about.
groundbreaking episode, right? We just found
Yeah.
out she's got a second book that's going to be coming out,
Yeah.
and she's answered a question that she's never been asked about the secret to her success. Groundbreaking episode, and that is a great question. I think, like, I've never been asked that either. Actually, now that I think about it, but for me, it's the knowledge of the fact that my kids are watching.
Oh,
That's
that's
the secret to
amazing.
my success.
Yeah.
Right. I know they're like, so every now and, like, I have, my son is 10, my daughter's 13, and every now and then they will watch one of these episodes. They'll Google me and they'll say, yeah, you said this, and I had no idea, and that's just a reminder that I'm not just doing this for me. They can
Yeah.
follow my example, they can learn, they can. So that's something that's really motivated me uh, over the past 13 years when my daughter was born, and then 10 years too. So yeah, no, that is a great question. I'm glad you answered that for us as well. Um, so we're going down to the final segment. It's called Write This Down. And this is where we'll both go around and give the people at least one idea that's a takeaway from this episode that they need to write down so they can level up. So you're the guest of honor. We'll start with you. What should the people write down?
I Well, first and foremost, I think you have to have faith,
Hmm.
because of everything that we talked about today, Eric. Choosing the people that you're surrounded with, creating your vision, right? Like, I could say, okay, write down your vision plan and take the step, write down the steps that you need to take to make that vision happen. I think the most important thing is faith. Have faith in yourself, right? All the creativity, all the hard work that you're putting into your day job right now, you can do for yourself, right? So have faith in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Two, we talked about leaving your day job and feeling alone. Have faith in other people. There are other people out there, and there's so many people out there that want to see you succeed. It's not all about competition. That was the most refreshing and amazing thing that I learned from leaving my day job, was that it was about people wanting to help you level up, not take you down. So have faith in that. Most people are good, and have faith in God. If you want to call it the universe, if you want to call it anything else, energy, what have you. But for me, you know, thinking about when I was young and making bold moves and taking risky steps, it was less conscious back then than it is now, but having faith that things will work out.
Mm.
Having faith that, you've done your analysis, and this is the step that this is the conclusion that it came, is that you're going to take this step and that step. Have faith in that, and things will happen. But I am, a believer, and I do know that God has great things and great plans for us. Um, I know that if I knew the plan, I would have more faith in the plan than in God. So
Mm.
that's where faith comes in.
Mm.
So again, whether you
Ooh.
want to call it God, whether you have faith in the universe, like, I married somebody that is a different religion, but we knew that there was one greater being, and to have faith in that is just, you know you need to have a purpose in life, and to not have any kind of belief that reason things are happening in the right time and things will happen for you. Then I think you need to go back and read and talk to other people, and get that faith in yourself.
Yeah, you said something that was just really profound. I've never heard it put this way exactly, where you said if you knew the full plan, you would have more faith in the plan than
Yeah.
you would God.
Yeah.
That's profound.
Yeah. I can't take credit for it. But I don't know where to give it credit to. I've written a blog that, people say that it's important to surround yourself with the right people. Well, in social media, the equivalent of that is following the right people, right? As a young person, I didn't like social media because I felt like it was a platform for comparing yourself with others and for jealousy and things like that. I had to change my mindset. And I thought, the people that were posting things that at first made me jealous and wanted me to compete with, I was like, you know what? No, I need to change my perception and look at them as, hey, they're posting something that I want for myself. And if they can do it, I can do it. And if I post something, it's not going to be to brag about it. It's because maybe I can inspire someone, because if I can do it, they can do it. I'm nobody special. And so I made it a point for myself to make sure that I was following people that inspired me. And somewhere in social media, I saw that, and I wish that I saved it, or so now I make sure that I save the posts that really hit home for me, because it's important reminders. But somebody posted, they said, if you knew the plan, just like I said, if you knew the plan, then you would have more faith in that than in God Himself. And on top of that, it's one of my big things is have dreams bigger, so big, have dreams so big that only God can make them come true.
Hmm.
And these have just really really changed my life. And I go on day by day, not saying that I have no challenges, because you hit challenges, especially as an entrepreneur, but it helps you keep going, and it helps you stress less. And with less stress, you have less distraction to actually making your dream come true. And that's what's important, when you're creating a side hustle that becomes your day hustle.
Oh, for sure. No, this is great stuff. Thank you. I mean, that's the people need to be writing that down for sure. And it really gives you perspective as to why you don't have all the information, right? And you just have to trust and you have to have faith that it's going to work out. And so, for my piece of this, where we're talking about write this down, it goes back to what you were talking about. The wish versus the goal. And I'm just thinking just now, like every young person in America, my son included, has a wish to play in the NBA, to play professional basketball, right? They all have a wish. But the
Mhm.
people who make the NBA, they have more than a wish. They have a goal that's backed with a plan and structure
Yeah.
and things that are concrete and coaches and everything else. Those are the people that usually make it to that level. You can say football with the NFL, the medal stand at the Olympics. It's not just a wish. Everybody has a wish for the right things. But the people that realize that thing, they have a goal and they have a structure and they have a plan, which is what Day Hustle offers, right? I wish I could be an entrepreneur full time. Well, okay, I can go to Day Hustle and I've got this structure and with timelines and a community and everything else. So it's my hope that one of your big takeaways from watching or listening to this episode is that you're going to form a concrete plan to get where it is that you're trying to go. If you're trying to become an entrepreneur, you need to call Gianni. That's what you need to do. So Gianni, can you let the people know uh, how they can reach you? What's the best ways they can connect with you?
The best thing to do is go to dayhustle.com. That has all the information about the book. It's got videos, it's got previous podcasts and interviews. And then it has the links to all of my how to connect with me as well. So simple enough. It cost money with dayhustle.com. We made it as easy as possible for people to find me.
Dayhustle.com. Very
it.
good. Again, Gianna Rahmani, thank you for everything that you shared. And people now understand how they can get paid to quit their day job and become the
It's my
entrepreneur that
pleasure.
they wanted to be. So everybody, don't forget to share the show. Don't keep this a secret. Also, keep in mind that you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of those other podcasting platforms. That's our time for this evening on the 30 Minute Hour podcast. And until next time, have a great one.